The other night, I was scrolling through the faith-based section of Tubi, as I often do, and I came across a movie that caught my eye called Fat Chance. After meeting a young man online using her friend's picture, an overweight dental assistant must learn to embrace herself and find her worth in Christ. And obviously, after reading that, my first thought was that I need to watch this movie immediately. Possibly while high. My second thought was, is this woman on the poster supposed to be the overweight dental assistant? Because she does not look like someone who should be starring in a movie called Fat Chance. So I watched it, and she is, but only kinda. The actress is bigger in the actual movie, and as best as I can tell, they photoshopped her body to look slimmer. And obviously, that's not uncommon in the world of posters, but I do think that it tells you everything you need to know about this movie, that despite the fact that it's ostensibly about self-acceptance, they still felt the need to alter their main actress's appearance in their promotional materials. It begins by telling us that it was based on a true story, which... yeah, I'm sure. The plot is basically just that a larger woman and a skinny dude fall in love. It's probably based on thousands of true stories. From there, we meet our protagonist Allison as a young girl. Ah, where did that one come from? Has she just been following her the whole time?
Watch where you're going, geek. I thought that I made it very clear that you're not cool enough to walk on my street. It's my only way to my house. That's not my problem, geek. You've got me to look forward to every day. Come on, girls.
Okay, these bullies are not fucking around. First they employed the pincer movement, and now this bullshit. Unsurprisingly, the bullying affects Allison deeply, and so she goes home and deals with it in exactly the way you'd expect given the title of this movie. Alright, I'm just going to ignore the implication that people become overweight as the result of some underlying trauma, and instead focus on the sheer volume of cookies she just consumed, because damn! I know that this scene is supposed to be sad, but honestly, I'm just impressed. She ate like 12 in one sitting, and they weren't small. There is easily 3 or 4 cookies worth of dough in each one of those, and she downed them all without breaking a sweat. Frankly, I think she could go pro. Honestly, the only negative I'd say about what I just watched is that I think Allison is being a little bit selfish right now. Like, what, you just come home and see a random plate of cookies and then you just eat them all without asking anyone? You don't know what those are for. You might have just ruined your mom's book club. And like, look, normally, I would not even comment on what someone else is eating, much less be so flippant about it. But the way that this movie treats Allison's nutrition is very hard to take seriously. She is frequently depicted as eating a cartoonish amount of food, in a way that makes me think that this movie doesn't just not understand fat people, it may not understand humans in general. After showing us her after-school snack, the movie flashes forward to the present day, and the way that they do that is by match-cutting to her future self, who is also eating a cookie. They then zoom out to show that her snack now consists of 2 boxes of cookies, a gallon jug of soda, and what appears to be a personal-sized pie of some sort. Hey nitwits, Willie here. And one thing you may not know about me if you only know me through my videos is the fact that I am completely odorless. I'm not sure if it's a glandular thing or what, but it's weird, and it's been this way my entire life. Ever since my mom found me in the ashes of that abandoned orphanage. And you wouldn't think it, but it actually affects the way people treat me. Your scent is one of the first things that someone learns about you, so when it's not there, they act different. People are always telling me, Willie, I don't like being around you. You fill me with an all-encompassing feeling of dread. Dogs bark at me, babies cry in my presence, and one time a nun just straight up doused me in holy water. I'm not entirely sure what they put in that stuff, but it burns like heck. I like people to see me for me, not the deep feeling of unease that I stir up inside of them. And that's why I use today's sponsor, Scentbird. With Scentbird, I can choose from over 700 different fragrances every month and have them delivered right to my door. And they're nice fragrances too. Their library includes offerings from Versace, Prada, and tons of other luxury brands that I wouldn't be able to afford in a million years, but get to experience thanks to Scentbird. I'm not an expert in fragrances, so I actually use this really cool quiz that they have in their app to figure out what I should get, and it recommended me a bunch of amazing colognes. I ended up getting Icon Black by Zur, By the Sea by Memoir, Cedra Boise by Montserrat, and my personal favorite, Sexual Steel by Michel Germain. And you know, full disclosure, I probably would have never thought to get something called Sexual Steel for myself, but I'm really glad that I did, because it smells amazing. It has hints of bergamot and lavender, and it makes me feel very manly, which is not easy to do. Scentbird fragrances also come in these amazingly sleek bottles which fit easily in your pocket, meaning you can have your fragrance with you all day and take it out whenever you need a touch-up. If we're being honest, I've needed a lot of touch-ups given how much I've been sweating this summer. And here's the best part. If you're curious to try Scentbird for yourself, then I've got a special offer for you. Scan the QR code here on the screen or click on the link below and use my code WILLIE to get an incredible 55% off your first fragrance. That's just $8 to start exploring scents that speak to you. With the fragrances I got from Scentbird, I finally have the confidence I need to rise in the ranks of power and take my rightful seat beside my father's throne. I mean network. Just normal networking. So yeah, scan my QR code or use promo code WILLIE to get 55% off your first order. And with that, let's get back to whatever the hell I was talking about. It kind of feels like the movie is worried that if we don't see her overeating, then we might forget that she's fat, which is insane because the movie is also constantly telling us that she's fat. This is mostly done by way of Allison's weirdly aggressive coworker who seems to hate her for the sole reason that she is overweight.
Ryan's birthday is today.
He is so cute. We should take him to that new restaurant around the corner.
Allison, you should come too.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Really? Why did you invite her? She is such a fat slob.
The movie also shows us many instances of Allison's weight affecting her day-to-day life, although these mostly just consist of her not being able to fit into small spaces.
Excuse me, Dr. Akers. Sorry. I am so sorry.
Allison, just bring me another tray.
Okay, that one's not even Allison's fault. If the dentist didn't want his tray getting knocked over, he shouldn't have left it precariously dangling off the side of the counter like that. Still, that does not stop the mean coworker from blaming Allison.
Just finished sterilizing the instruments you threw on the floor. What is your problem?
I think this might be an HR issue. And possibly a legal one. This feels like harassment at this point. For whatever reason, though, Allison still tries to hang out with her after work. Allison takes her other, nicer coworker up on an invitation to grab dinner later, and see if you guys get what's going on in this scene, because I super didn't.
Hey guys.
Hey, Allison. Hey, Allison. Why don't you sit with me?
No, actually I can't stay. I just wanted to bring this by and say happy birthday.
Thanks, Ollie.
Well, that's too bad.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, see you guys.
Damn, that lady sucks. But yeah, the first time I watched this, I was kind of like, why did she come if she was just going to immediately leave? My initial assumption was that she just didn't want to sit next to that mean lady because, well, she's clearly up to some bullshit. But even then, I was still kind of like, you knew she'd be there, so why did you go at all? Rewatching it, I now realize that the reason she leaves is because she can't fit in a booth, which makes sense, I guess. Although, given how not subtle this movie has been in previous scenes, it feels weird that they didn't make that clearer. It kind of leads me to believe that they did think they made it clear, which, if true, is a good example of one of my biggest criticisms of this movie. I think that the point of a movie like this is to show us that there's more to Allison than her weight, but I get the sense sometimes that the people making this don't really think that there is. For a scene like this to work, you kind of have to always look at her and think she's a fat person. This is happening to her because she's fat. And if that's the way you're being made to view her, then it starts to feel like her weight is what defines her. Also, side note, but I don't believe for 1 second that if booths are this big of an issue for her, she wouldn't have a ready-made excuse for why she needs to grab a chair. As someone with quite a few of my own social quirks, I can assure you that people come up with lies for these things so that they're not an issue. Actually, I get claustrophobic in booths, so I'm gonna go grab a chair. And I just came up with that off the top of my head. It's not hard. She must not be as quick on her feet as I am, though, so instead she just goes home to sulk. And I bet you guys can't guess how this movie has her deal with her feelings.
Hey, lady.
Bitter
Why are you so
and
dark?
resentful towards their spouse.
You didn't come home last night.
I
Women
spent the night at Donnie's. I thought you were going out
very
tonight.
different from each other.
Just didn't feel like it.
Carrying the most amount of weight. Now, what I'm about to share with you.
What's wrong?
People ask me a lot.
Nothing.
Where did you learn all this
Didn't
stuff?
they invite you?
Just didn't fit in, I guess.
I get it! Also, that person she's talking to right now is her roommate, so make a note of her because she's important to the plot.
I see all of these beautiful, skinny people, and they're happy. They're living their lives, and I'm eating, watching a marriage seminar. Like that'll ever happen.
Allison,
Really? All right. And
this is not healthy. You gotta get up and live your life.
What life? It's pointless. Look at me, Kate. Who is going to want me?
Hallie, you are beautiful. My grandmother always says it's not what others see in us, but what we see in ourselves that makes us beautiful.
What, was your grandmother a greeting card writer?
No, but she had a life outside of takeout and TV.
I feel like now is as good a time as any to say, fuck this movie. Because not only does it define Allison by her weight, but it also blames her for it. Her constant eating doesn't just feel like it's meant to remind us that she's fat. It's meant to show us how she got to be that way. And given that she's kinda meant to be a stand-in for all fat people, it feels like the implication here is that if everyone would just put down that slice of pizza and get up off the couch, then all of their problems would be solved. And it's like, that's not really how it works. The movie tries to pull that bullshit of, it doesn't matter how other people see you, it only matters how you see yourself, which, no. Don't get me wrong, self-love is important, but like, Allison is being constantly bullied at work. She lives in a world where the infrastructure doesn't accommodate her. There are a lot of external factors at play here that make the self-love of it all that much harder. And when that's the case, hearing that all your problems are the result of you not knowing how to love yourself isn't the quick fix that this movie seems to think it is. If anything, it just makes things worse. You start to think that there must be something wrong with you, that you can't just feel confident, and that makes you feel even less confident, and then if this movie is to be believed, you deal with your feelings by eating a pie, which causes you to gain more weight and start the whole cycle all over again. On top of everything, the placement of this scene feels weird because it's all about how Allison's problems are her fault because she isn't putting herself out there, but in the very next scene, she puts herself out there by attending what seems to be some sort of Christian mixer. It's here that we're introduced to the film's eventual love interest.
Justin, she's here. She who? The new hottie. The one I was telling you about?
So what? You go talk to her.
Steph would kill me. By the books. Behind the fatty.
You gonna say anything about that, or? Alright, what a beautiful start to a romance. The movie seems to want us to view him as this nice guy, but I feel like the bar they're setting is extremely low. Yes, he's never mean to Allison about her weight, but he does seem to have quite a few people in his life that are. Not only did his best friend throughout the film just call his future wife a fatty, but he also goes on a date with that mean lady in the very next scene. And granted, he does cut the date short when he sees her being mean to Allison, but he also goes on another date with her later in the movie, and that's after he watches her do this.
So, Aaron, right?
Uh-huh.
How long have you been coming to young adults?
I've only been a few times, but I'm really starting to like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you in school?
Yeah, I'm at state right now studying business.
You planning to run some big corporation?
No, actually,
I am so sorry.
What is wrong with you?
Aaron, I'm really sorry.
If you would just lose some weight, maybe you wouldn't have such a hard time being normal.
I get that it's a lot harder outside of the cities because there's a much smaller pool to choose from, but even still, if she was my only option, I think I'd just die alone. Also, I'll say it. I think Allison did that on purpose. That is a large coffee shop with plenty of room. So do you really think she just happened to take the one path that required her to squeeze by behind the lady who yells at her for bumping into things? She knew what she was doing. And I say bravo. Allison runs outside to sulk again, and she's followed by the love interest who proceeds to have the single worst first conversation with her that I have ever seen put to film.
Hey, you okay? Haven't talked to you in a while.
Have we talked?
And to be clear, they haven't. This is the first one-on-one conversation that they've ever had. So the fact that this is what he opened with feels strange. And things only get worse from there.
Look, I'm sorry about her, and she's just...
Beautiful. Look, can we just change the subject, please?
Okay. I saw your internship is almost over.
How did you know that?
Found out on Instagram.
So you're stalking me.
What else is social media for, though, right?
Alright, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like stalking people online isn't normal, because it is. We all do it. But even still, I feel like you should never admit that you do it to the person you do it to. So many of my conversations are spent trying to pretend like I know way less about the person I'm talking to than I actually do, and I think that that's just good manners. For him to just brazenly take what he learned online and bring it up in real life feels like a breach of the social contract. Especially because this is the first time they've ever spoken to each other. I cannot stress that enough. This isn't your average, everyday, fun kind of Facebook stalking. This just feels like stalking.
It's amazing how much we can know about each other without actually knowing each other.
No. It's too bad you can't post real stuff, though. You want to kill your best friend, you worried about choosing the wrong path, or afraid to be alone. Or at least you shouldn't.
You're opening with kill your best friend? I'm sorry, but this is not a good first impression. If someone had this conversation with me, I would genuinely be scared for my life, but thankfully for everyone involved, Allison seems into it. The skinny dude tells her that he's currently on a dating website, and in the next scene, Allison signs up for the exact same site, presumably in an effort to try and match with him. For some reason, though, she decides to sign up for it while she's at work.
What are you so busy working on?
Nothing.
Was that Unite? Fat chance.
Oh, so that's where the title comes from. Clever.
I was just messing around.
Maybe you'll find someone.
Yeah, but he'll totally have a neck beard.
What's a neckbeard?
It's where their beard tries to cover their fat neck. Never mind. Seriously. Who is going to want you?
Aaron! No offense.
Well, as long as you didn't mean any offense by it. Seriously though, this woman is the devil.
Then again, you may find a chubby chaser.
Yeah, maybe she will. I mean, I wouldn't call it that, but would that be such a bad thing? You've been calling her fat for like 40 minutes straight at this point, so wouldn't a chubby chaser just be someone who's attracted to her? Is that not exactly what someone is looking for when they sign up for a dating app? You can't just be like, nobody's ever gonna love you for the way you look, but also the ones who will don't actually count. And actually, I think that's another one of the main problems I had watching this. I don't think that the movie agrees with the bully, but I do think that it holds a very similar mindset as her, and because of that, any message they're going for here ends up feeling a bit skewed. To say the least. The bully lady shakes Allison's confidence enough that rather than using her own picture, she ends up posing as her roommate. And yeah, I'm not going to go too much deeper into the plot of this movie because it kind of plays out exactly as you'd expect it to from there. Allison and the skinny dude start messaging, he eventually finds out that she was lying and gets mad at her, he forgives her in the end. Along the way, she seduces him by singing an a cappella hymn around a campfire.
I need thee, oh, I need thee. Every hour I need thee. Oh, bless me now, my Savior. I come to thee.
What I will go into deeper is the messaging, though, because I feel like that's more the bigger point of Fat Chance. I think if there's an antagonist here, it's somehow not this woman.
She's so big. She calls herself a Christian. Love others as you love yourself. So anyone who would let themselves get that fat must hate themselves. And if you hate yourself, you must be horrible.
Instead, I think it's Allison herself. She's getting in her own way by not accepting the idea that that twink might actually be into her, despite the fact that it feels pretty clear that he is. He flirts, he makes googly eyes at her, and at one point he even burns her a mix CD. That last one is admittedly a little bit weird, seeing as this movie came out in 2016, but even still, it's clear that he has a little crush. Allison doesn't pick up on it, though, because she's too distracted by her own insecurities to see what's right in front of her. She doesn't love herself, and that makes it impossible for her to comprehend that anyone else might love her. And, relatable. I still don't fully believe that anyone's ever been attracted to me, and I've been in a relationship for 8 years, so I really do think that this could make for an interesting setup to a movie. That said, though, you'd think that the point of that movie would be for Allison to accept herself just the way she is, but that's not what happens here. Or, it kinda does, but it's done in a very warped evangelical sort of way. To best understand the message of this movie, I think we need to take a look at the character played by former SNL star and current woman you hope you don't have to sit next to on the bus, Victoria Jackson. She plays Allison's boss who helps her along on her romantic journey, and I feel like the movie gives its most important lines to her because, well, she's the most famous. They were clearly banking in all those Jackson heads out there to get butts and seats.
Come in.
I have the emergency contact cards all filled out.
Thank you. Just put them down. Thank you so much for helping us.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm really happy to be here.
How do you know Justin?
Justin from church.
Oh.
Weird conversation to start with your young employee, but go on.
We're just friends. I'm not exactly his type.
What's his type?
Someone who doesn't look like me.
Well, I think he's Twitter-pated.
What the fuck is Twitter-pated? Alright, I looked it up, and apparently it's a weird synonym for infatuated, but my first thought when I heard it was that it means touching yourself to someone else's social media post, because, well, given what we know about the main dude, that doesn't feel that far out of the realm of possibility. And yeah, I'm not sure how successful I would say that this scene is, because Victoria Jackson is trying to convince Allison that she's worthy of love and that she shouldn't let her weight be what defines her. But in doing that, she also gives her dieting tips.
Hey, lollipop?
No, thanks.
It's my diet program.
The lollipop diet?
Well, I realized that I was eating out of nervousness, so I switched to sunflower seeds and lollipops. Because whenever I crave sugar, I just lick a lollipop and it's only 40 calories and it lasts a long time. And then I realized that people, when they look at me, they don't see my body, they see me.
Really? Because Allison never once mentioned her weight, but you still knew exactly what she was talking about when she said that the main dude would never be interested in her. And that's kind of what I mean about this movie. Even when it's trying to argue that Allison's weight isn't an issue, it still seems to view Allison's weight as an issue. The message here isn't that Allison is beautiful and fat, it's that she's beautiful even though she's fat. And I think that there's an important distinction there. Like, I think that's why that chubby chaser line from earlier stuck out to me, because I think that this movie would argue that Allison shouldn't find someone who loves her for the way she looks. She needs to find someone who loves her in spite of the way she looks. And as if that weren't bad enough on the surface, as the movie digs deeper into its own philosophy, it starts to do that very Christian movie thing of presenting something like it's this deep philosophical lesson when really it just doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
Well, like, maybe not strangers, you know, they might look at your outside, but like people who know me, they look at my soul. And like my husband, he has like kind of big ears and he's not 6 feet tall. But when I see him, I see Superman because he's brave and protective and kind and smart, and he reads the Bible when no one's looking. And, you know, so I like his ears and his, you know, height because that's him.
Okay, so all she needs to do is find someone who loves her for her soul right from the beginning. Brilliant. I think they just solved dating. In a perfect world, yes, physical attraction wouldn't be an important part of the process, but in the world we live in, it is. It gets people to start getting to know your soul by attracting them to you. In fact, I'm fairly certain that's where the name comes from. And what makes that line extra frustrating is that there is no doubt in my mind that whoever wrote it believes that men and women cannot be friends. So yeah, I don't really know what their plan is. Allison is worried that people will judge her based on how she looks, and even in the speech meant to tell her that that's not an issue, Victoria Jackson acknowledges that it is an issue. So like, why are they telling her that it's not an issue? The movie's strategy is to kind of just keep telling Allison that any problem she may be experiencing related to her weight is rooted in how she views herself. And while I think that's meant to be a lesson in confidence, it kind of starts to feel like gaslighting after a certain point. And it only gets worse from there. When Victoria Jackson finds out that Allison used someone else's photo on her dating profile, this is how she reacts.
Why did you lie about your profile?
Isn't it obvious?
I don't think so. I think you're a beautiful young woman and you love God and you love people, and I'm shocked.
You literally just had this conversation with her. Why are you playing dumb? I feel like a better way to handle a scene like this would be to say like, why would you want to pursue a relationship with someone if you think that they might view the way you look as a problem? But they never do that. And I think that's because ultimately the movie views the way Allison looks as a problem.
Too bad the rest of the world doesn't see it that way.
Well, who cares what the world sees or doesn't see? I mean, at the end of the day, you decide what you want to see. And who cares if the whole world likes you or thinks you're beautiful if you don't?
But I hate what I see in the mirror.
Then we have to change mirrors. You look in the mirror and you see what you think other people see. Your shortcomings and your inadequacies and your mistakes. But if you look in God's mirror, you see a masterpiece.
When I look at the mirror, all I see is that I'm fat. Is that how God intended for me to be?
No, he wants us to be healthy.
Okay, I feel like I need to say this clearly at least once, because Lord knows that if I don't, someone in the comments certainly will. Being overweight is not a sign that someone's unhealthy. It can be. Based on how many cookies she seems to consume in a day, I think it might be in Allison's case, but that's not always true, and you can lead a very healthy lifestyle and still be considered overweight. The movie obviously doesn't see it that way, though. When Victoria Jackson looks at Allison, She sees a person who needs to change, which is really fucked up, given that she's also telling her that she needs to learn to accept herself just the way she is. One thing that never ceases to amaze me, no matter how many times I watch these Christian movies, is how often they feel like total mind games. Allison is flawed because we're all flawed, but she also needs to learn to love herself, but not too much because that's prideful, and also, even though she loves herself, she needs to change because God wants her to be healthy, but hey, don't worry about how you look because we're all made in His image, but also He's a boy, but if you feel like a boy, then you shouldn't change your body because He would never want you to change your body, but also lose some weight. The logic at play here feels so confusing that trying to make sense of it feels next to impossible sometimes, and I think that that's kind of the point. Because looming over all these mind games is the very easy concept that no matter what, God loves you. And after trying to wrestle with a bunch of contradicting ideas, the thought that you have something simple to latch onto starts to feel really appealing. And if that works for you, then awesome, but I can't help but feel like for a lot of people, it just ends up being a band-aid. God loves you becomes something that you can look to ignore all the complicated feelings being stirred up within you, and not a way to actually deal with them. I'm hardly an expert on self-love, but I know one thing for sure, and that's that it can't come from anyone else but yourself. Not even the all-knowing creator of the universe. The movie ends with Allison, her new boyfriend, and her friends going out to dinner at the same restaurant from before, only this time, she doesn't have to leave.
Good evening, 4?
5 actually.
Is a booth okay? You know, there's actually no way I'll fit into a booth, so a table would be great. Oh, of course.
And watching that, I was like, okay, cool. This movie's had its ups and downs, but at least it's ending on a decent note. Unfortunately, it keeps going. And remember how I told you that this was based on a true story? Well, we get a little update on the real-life Allison.
What mirror are you looking in?
So, yeah. A happy ending. But yeah, that's my video. Please like and subscribe and share and comment. And, post about me on Reddit. I don't know, I search my name on Reddit sometimes, so it's always fun to see when that happens. That's sad to admit, but it's true. Also, if you really want to support the channel and you have a couple of bucks to spare, then you could consider giving to my Patreon or super thanksing me, which, speaking of, I have some super thanks to super thanks back. Thank you to Lori Wild 3977, B Bureau 12. Ooh. Never good at reading words that start with X. Stroopax? Or X-Troopa X? Stroopax? You know who you are. Thank you. And Smarks5147. Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I didn't reply to you in the comments. I can do that now. Oh no, I can't because my keyboard is connected to something else. Bluetooth is weird. Also, thank you one more time to Scentbird. If you're interested in smelling your best, then do what I told you to do in the ad. It really helps out the channel, and you'll get some nice fragrances out of it. So, win-win. But yeah, that's my video. I don't know why I did that so excited. Thank you. Goodbye. Just kidding. The real ones know I'm still here. It's time to pose for a thumbnail, and then the patrons' names are going to scroll. Yeah. And for this one, just like, the same thing. This is going to be one of my problematic ones. I'm just like, not again. Although I don't think it likes me front and center. But it doesn't I feel like the perfect one was the one that I reused. but I don't think I'm supposed to reuse it. So I'm going to keep like, so like head tilt. Come on now, Victoria Jackson. You have gone off the rails, Missy. She looks like her name should be Missy. She's a horrible bigot. Is that hearsay? No, I can find clips of her being like, I don't like Muslims, so I think I can defend myself in court if she calls me out for calling her a bigot. She really didn't like Glee. Her defense, it was offensive, but not for the reason she thought. Okay. I think hat is important. My little hat. I need to start making less of these videos because I feel like I have one idea to do another public domain video that might do well, even though my public domain videos don't do well. But I'm going to make it because I like my little sailor costume. I'm getting kind of sick of the witch sweater. My next sweater, my next video, I'll be wearing a new sweater. So that's exciting. It's not very good. It's actually really, I bought the yarn to make it a year in advance, and I didn't buy enough, so then I bought a second round of yarn, and so it's a different color. So there's just like one brighter stripe in the middle, and I don't think you'll be able to tell on camera, but I can tell, and I'm really upset about it. Whatever. What am I doing? Posing. Feel like I like when my arms look more like... I found... Okay. The word I'm about to use is not a word I would normally use, but I want to bring it up because that was... Like, I was going to say my arms look like this. I saw someone use the word swastic recently to describe like an adjective form of... I was like, what? Because I was getting a bunch of like Facebook ads with like sand art that had a bad symbol in it, and they're like, it's swastic sand art. And I was like, what? And then people were like, it's a Buddhist symbol, which, yeah, but I don't, do they call it that? Do they call it swastic? What am I talking about? Like, kind of like that. That feels good to scratch my head. I get why dogs are into this. Now I just look like a chimp. There's probably something in there. If not, I'll just reuse one of the old ones because I wear this sweater in a lot of things. I love you all.